The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and do not express the views of WVBF ownership or Hometown Talk Radio. Content aired on all programs are those of the host and their guests.
It's time now for Hometown Talk Radio here at AM 1530 WVBF and 99.7 FM. The phone lines are now open at 508-822-1106.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the third hour of Coffee with Tony. And if I can do my little thing here that I've got to do, there we go, is turn the mic on, and I'm going to say good morning to a good friend, Jim Larkin, who has joined us here in studio. Good morning, Jim. How are you?
Great, Tony. Thank you. How about yourself?
Oh, well, we're hanging in there. As I told you, Tuesdays are a long day. Start early. Yeah. And I'm not used to working after being retired for a year and a half. You know, work one day a week, and sometimes it's a hard trek to get to noontime. I'm looking at the clock all the time and just wishing that it's already 12 o'clock. But we're gonna have a great hour. Jimmy, I'm just going to kind of recap a few things and let you chirp in and so on. You are the host of the Sounds of the Emerald Isle, which I believe 11 or 12 years that you've been with WVBF, since when I was the general manager and so on and so forth. And your show is Sundays from 12 noon to 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I've told a bunch of people that you have listeners and callers from all over the place. I can remember a soldier calling in from South Korea wanting a certain song to be played and so on and that kind of thing. How many years altogether, Jim, have you been doing Sounds of the Emerald Isle?
Well, this show would be 40th anniversary show will be the first Sunday of February.
40th anniversary show.
Right.
Wow.
I did actually do a show back. I did a show similar that back around 1972.
Okay.
I started, but it wasn't a weekly show. What it was is it was a weird thing where I was singing at the time, and my booking agent that was giving us a lot of jobs said, "Do you have any Irish records?" I said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "How would you like to do some radio?" I said, "What do you mean?" Well, he had an idea to record an Irish show and sell it to radio stations.
Okay.
So he did that for 5 years.
Wow.
And he'd hire me every year, and I'd come into the studio and record like 4 hours of stuff. And some station in Philadelphia wanted 6 hours for St. Patrick's Day so they could run it 12 hours. And it was good while it lasted.
Sure.
Then,
sure.
That kind of led to this show.
Yeah. So it's going to be 40 years that's 1981.
1982, February 6th.
Oh, 82, that's right, because we'll be into the next year. That's right, yeah. Cool, that'll be 40 years. So, Jimmy, some people have asked me from time to time, I'm at different coffee shops and so on, hey, you know that Jimmy Larkin, he has some funny stuff on there, and and great Irish music and so on. And they wonder about, because the material seems always to be fresh, okay?
Yeah.
And they asked me, how many records and how many cuts from comedians and so on and so forth do you have that you have collected and you store and so on and so forth?
Well, records recently got rid of over 100,000 physical records.
Okay.
Put them all digital. We still have a good several thousand, like 10, 20,000 left. Comedians, that's hard to say. There's a lot more comedians that I can't play because they choose to use language that can't be played on the radio,
get us in a little bit.
Too bad.
Yeah, it would get us in a little bit of trouble.
Exactly.
They're beyond R-rated.
Exactly, and they're funny, but you can't play them. And, there's still a good amount of them. They're passing away one after the other, it seems. But they came out with a lot of material, and so there's always a good selection of stuff.
Now, another thing too. From time to time, you've had live musical guests in the studios. How are some of tell us about some of the people that you've had on, as far as guests are concerned, and so on, musical groups and so on.
Well, the first guest, the biggest guest I ever had on the show was Irish-born actress Maureen O'Hara.
Oh, really?
Came into the studio in Brockton in 1988 just by coincidence, today would have been Maureen O'Hara's 102nd birthday.
Wow.
And growing up as a kid and seeing her on TV, and you have all these visions of, oh, you'd love to meet this person. And then when she agreed to come to the station, and they sent a limo into Boston to pick her up, and it was just amazing to sit there and interview her.
Now, was she she wasn't an Irish singer. She was more of an actress, right?
And she was a singer also. She started back in the late 50s. She recorded a couple of albums, and then in 1961 she recorded an album of all Irish songs.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And she was in a bunch of movies as well.
Oh, she was in tons and tons of movies. A lot of the old John Wayne ones, The Quiet Man, she had a great career.
Wow. That's incredible. It's incredible. I can remember some of the guests that we've had here over 35 years of guests that we've had here, and some of them were just one of the most unique guests that I ever had, Jimmy, was more than one person.
Mm-hmm.
It was a group of people, and we're sitting here, and I'm doing the show just like you and I, just talking, taking a couple of calls, and all of a sudden I had a woman call from East Taunton and said, "We've got a UFO going over the airport in East Taunton." I said, "What are you talking about?" "Oh, Tony, this big thing, and blah, 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 blah. What am I going to say?
Yeah.
So she gets off the air. 5 minutes later, I get a call. Guy's name was Ron Jenkins, okay? Mm-hmm. And he says, "Hey, listen, I'm in charge of that UFO." I says, "What?" He says, "I'm the chief engineer for the Goodyear blimp."
Oh.
And we're the ground crew. And we're driving through the Taunton area right now. And the Goodyear blimp was in Plymouth the night before. There's a place where they can tie up in Plymouth.
Oh.
Okay. And the day before, which would have been a Sunday, they were the aerial over the New England Patriots had a game.
Right.
Okay. I don't know if it was a regular season game, exhibition game, or whatever. And they were leaving. So it was late in the year, late in the summer, because he told me, he says, "We're leaving. The blimp is going to Williamsport, Pennsylvania for the Little League World Series."
Right.
And we're going too. We're kind of following them, but the blimps only go about 80 miles an hour, 75, 80 miles an hour. So it's easy for the ground crew to kind of keep up with them, just in case they have a problem or something like that. I thought it was absolutely amazing because he says you never know who's listening to your show.
Yeah, that's right.
That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. So listen, a lot of stuff. We said we were going to do on and off a little bit of humor and a little comedy and so on and so forth, and talk a little bit more about some stuff that's going on. So what do you got planned first?
Well, I got Joe Cuddy. He's can I have the wire there?
Which one do you need now?
The one that plugs in to the pigtail.
The one that plugs, this one here.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And
let's see if this will reach. And it does.
Okay.
Joe Cuddy was a great Irish comedian. He was on the show several times, and he just passed away just before Christmas of this year. And the last time I had him on, he called in from Ireland, and he said to say hello to his brother who lived in Rainham.
Okay.
And I said, I didn't know that. I think his brother moved to the Cape, finally passed away. But he was a pretty funny guy, Joe Cuddy, so I think I'll play a little bit of him.
Okay. Well, now, do I have to, I know we're going to run that through the pigtail. Do I have to shut your mic off and my mic off to play this, or what do we do on that? We'll cut my mic off anyway.
I think you should do both of them, yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's hear it from Joe Cuddy.
Okay.
I tell you, I've been having a bad day. Go easy on me. I started this morning. First thing, I was getting dressed. The button fell off my shirt. I was tying my shoes. The lace broke. I picked up my case. The handle fell off. I was afraid to go to the bathroom. And this afternoon, I gave a little charity show in a retirement home for senior citizens. Now, they're usually very good and very rewarding, but that didn't go well. It's just the day I'm having. I got inside the door of this lovely home. There was a lady standing there. She must have been 80 years of age, bless her heart. She looked at me and said, "Hello." Well, I went over to her. I put my arm around her. I said, "Hello, my dear. Do you know who I am?" She said, "No, ask the nurse. She'll tell you." It was a fellow there, Patrick Michael, celebrating his 86th birthday today, and bless him, he was confined to bed. So to cheer him up on his birthday, the family said they'd get him a surprise. They sent him a kissogram. Now, you folks from overseas will probably call that a cablegram or a birthdaygram. It doesn't matter. The surprise arrived at the end of his bed. A beautiful young lady, lovely big pair of brown eyes. He said, "Who are you?" "Oh," she said, "I'm your kissogram." He said, "What are you going to do?" "Oh," she said, "I can give you super sex." He said, "If it's all the same with you, I'll take the soup." I think I found the level very quickly here tonight. Listen, folks, if you're on a visit to Ireland, my own Kate Mila Foster to you, welcome. I hope you're enjoying our stay and that you continue to do so. And I want to take this little time to talk about us, as in us Irish, what makes us different. A bit different to anybody else. I think one of our great attributes really is a good sense of humour. Would you agree with that? Yes. I'm overcome by our enthusiasm. And we have another wonderful gift. We can laugh at ourselves. And that's a marvellous thing to be able to laugh at yourself, because you'll never cease to be entertained. Is that a little bit too deep for this evening? It's no wonder people from abroad can't understand two words we put together. It's the way we put them together. We give the answer and then we ask the question. "You'll have a cup of tea, will you?" And you'll hear this one every day in Ireland. "Are you reading that newspaper you're sitting on?" I'm just doing the crossword. Now talk about eyes in the back of your head. Millions of people read the paper every day. It's a simple thing. You just pick it up and read the headlines first thing. We ignore headlines here. We make a beeline for the death notices. That's a very Irish thing, of course. I have a little friend, Murphy. He can never understand how all the people in Ireland die in alphabetical order.
So that's Joe Cuddy.
That's Joe Cuddy. He's a singer as well. He and an actor. There was a very famous Irish singer during the 30s and 40s and 50s named Joseph Locke. Very, very popular. They made a movie about him called "Hear My Song."
Okay.
And that's a title of an album that Joe Cuddy does of singing. But anyway, Joe Cuddy was a star in this movie. He played Frank Sinatra.
He played Frank Sinatra?
He did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he played Frank Sinatra. I've never seen the movie. I've been dying to see it since it came out.
It's got to be someplace that you could get to it.
It's foreign. It's a foreign movie, and it's been all over Europe.
Okay.
I haven't seen it on TV here.
Oh, okay. All right. Sounds good. So, comedy has always been... I'm going to cut... Comedy has always been part of your show, and to go along with the different Irish songs and everything else that we do and so on. But I have had more people who have said to me that they just wait for, they don't know which one of the comedians that you're going to throw in there next and everything else. But it's kind of like a way for them to break up their day or break up Sunday afternoon and everything else. So how did you start to collect these things? Was it just a something that you wanted to do? Was it like a hobby when you started with it?
Well, with the comedy part, I really didn't have any Irish comedy until the first year of the show. And the record company in New York sent me a couple of albums by Hal Roach. And Hal, not only was he world known, he was the first person that ever called me live on the air from Ireland.
Oh, really?
In those days, it was very expensive to make a call. You didn't have the satellite stuff, and it was very expensive. And he just got off the stage from performing, and he called the radio station, and we had a nice chat, and I had him on quite a few times, and up until he passed away, he was very, very popular, and still is, even though he's been dead now for just over 10 years.
So is this an introduction into, we're going to do some Hal Roach? Or?
I can play Hal Roach, too, yeah. I have a little Hal Roach set aside here.
Oh, okay.
He's probably the most popular of them all, because so many people know him. He's been on all the major shows, Johnny Carson.
Wasn't he featured, and I could be wrong on this, but I thought he was featured a couple of times on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yes.
They said he was, and one time that he was on, and he had the audience was in absolute stitches.
Right.
And then Ed Sullivan came out and said, well, that's a tough act to follow, and he had Victor Borgia
Oh,
who
yeah.
used to come on. He'd do the little piano thing, and then he would talk into the piano seat, hello, hello, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he came out with the same thing. He says, absolutely impossible to follow Hal Roach.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So why don't we hear from him right now?
Okay, let's play some Hal Roach.
The last Sunday I was down in Kilkenny doing a show, and now listen to this. I'm driving back at midnight, and I'm running short of petrol, and there's a man walking towards me, and I said, excuse me, are there any all-night 24-hour petrol stations in Kilkenny? He said, yes, sir, 4 of them. I said, could you direct me to one of them? He said, I could, but they'll be all closed now. We're the greatest. We really are. Even today now, just to digress from the Irish for a while, I was at a meeting today, did a, sort of press reception, you see, at the French embassy today. Funny men, these Frenchmen, aren't they? They really are. One of them kissed me on both cheeks. It was very embarrassing. I was tying my shoe at the time. Yes. Well, listen, the thing is, now listen to this. I live in a bungalow, and this fella lives in a bungalow beside me, exactly the same in every detail. And recently he wallpapered his front room, and I said, how many rolls of wallpaper did you use? He said 9, so I said, I'll do the same. So I got 9, finished mine, and I met him the next day. I said, you did say 9 rolls, didn't you? He said, yes. I said, well, I finished papering my front room, I said, and I discovered from the 9, I had 3 rolls of wallpaper left over. He said, God, that's funny, so did I. Stories for you now, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to go hysterical. You really are. Please God, one of you will go hysterical, and then I'll get you to mingle. However, yes, two cannibals in the jungle, and this missionary came by on a bicycle, and one cannibal said to the other, look at that, meals on wheels, meals on wheels. Well, please yourselves. And listen, I'm enjoying myself. That's the main thing. I mean, I'm going to worry at the money I'm getting. Honest to God, I could have phoned this in. But listen, this fella went to the furrier, and he said to the assistant, I'd like to buy a muff to keep me hands warm. She said, of course. What fur? He said, I just told you to keep me... I don't know what to say, ladies and gentlemen. I'm quite overcome at that outburst. I really am. I love this kind of thing. I really do. A fellow went to the library, and he said to the librarian, could you recommend a good book? She said, would you like something light? He said, it doesn't matter, I have the car outside. Now, a woman of 65 married a man of 80, and they spent their honeymoon trying to get out of the car. And, well, 80 for God's sake, come on. Twilight Zone. But the thing is, and the following year she went to the doctor, and the doctor confirmed the good news to her, you see. Yes. She said, you're out of your Chinese mind. I can't be. I'm 65 years old. He said, but you are. My God, she said, can I ring my husband and tell him? He said, yes. So she picked up the phone. She said, Paddy, I'm pregnant. And he said, who's speaking? It's not a sin to laugh at that now, honest to God.
Hal Roach. So, is there a comedian of all the ones that you've had that you like more than any of the other ones?
Tough call.
Yeah.
Very tough call. Yeah.
So, we talked about how you do the comedy and everything else. And if people who are listening and expecting us to do some Irish music, we're going to stay away from that. Because we have to stay away from music that's licensed,
right.
Anything that's involved with ASCAP or anything like that. But the comedy we can get away with, and we can tell you a little bit. Now, Jimmy is on every Sunday from 12 to 2, and with the Sounds of the Emerald Isle. And as he said, February 6th, is that what you said?
I think it was February 6th or February 7th, 1982. It was the first Sunday. It's always Super Bowl Sunday.
It's always Super Bowl Sunday.
Always Super Bowl Sunday, yeah.
Okay, that was your first show, and this year it will be your 40th.
40th.
So are you planning anything special for that show?
What I was hoping to do, if there was a way to do it, is to do a live broadcast from a restaurant and invite some of my musical guests to come and sing live and just make a nice event of it, if possible.
Yeah, well, that's something that you'll have to arrange with the new owner, with the owner of the radio station. But I mean, certainly we can do remote broadcasts. There's no question about that. Or we have in the past. We do football games and so on and so forth and all of that stuff. So it'll be just setting up the mics and and getting it so that it sounds good.
Yeah.
Coming out over the air. Mm-hmm. But that would be really cool. And if not, if you have to do it here, well, then maybe you can get couple of people to come in, and one group for the first hour and another group for the second hour. And,
that would be great. Yeah,
that kind of thing as well.
And people like the live stuff too.
Oh.
You don't see that anymore. And when I have them in, I do multiple camera angles and edit it after the fact. And some people are surprised when they realize that
does it go out on like YouTube as well?
Yeah, they're all on YouTube.
Oh, okay. So you have a YouTube setup as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's really cool. That's something in all the years that I did the radio and everything else that I feel that maybe 8 or 9 years ago I should have probably gone to that too and done some of that. But hey, listen, we got a call and we'll say you're next on Coffee with Tony. This is Tony Lopes and Jim Larkin. Hi, how are you?
It's great to hear Jim. I listen to Jim every Sunday.
Okay.
Every Sunday.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's enjoyable between the comedy and just the talent and sometimes just the Irish dialect kind of thing. I always think about my old man, Oh, yeah. He'd be sitting there, and he was deaf as a doornail, but you'd see him tapping his knee anyway.
Oh, boy.
Yep. Well, listen,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say thank you for calling in, and I know Jim appreciates it very much.
Can I put out just one of the Irish jokes, or is that inappropriate because because of things? Well, or can I say my favorite?
Okay, you can say your favorite as long as it's not X-rated.
Oh, no. This is better than that.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so here's my favorite is the Irishman that decided to go bear hunting, so he got his goodies and his guns and stuff, and he packed it all up and he headed up into the mountains, and he was traveling along, and he saw a sign. And it says, bear left, so he went home. That's one of my favorites.
Okay. That's good. That's pretty good. That's actually pretty good. Hey, listen, thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Of course, that could be humor. That could be any kind of humor as well as, but bear left. Okay. Okay.
Oh, boy.
So, anyway, what do you got cooked up? What can we go to next?
Well, there's a lady named Geraldine Doyle. I haven't played a woman yet, and she's got a couple of jokes here, and we can play her.
All right. Go right ahead.
But you know what I've worked out over the years? All around the world this happens. Mothers, when the kids are little, you say funny things because you get so frustrated with the little divas at times, don't you? You say the first thing comes into your head and it doesn't always make sense. Like, do you ever remember your mother saying to you, haven't I told you before not to speak with your mouth full? Come on, answer me. Well, that one. But you remember, I only have 2 hands. I was terrified to look at other kids' mothers. Or she'd say, right, just go to your room, lock yourself in, and then bring me the key. You only have 2 hands. Or do you remember this one? They'd say to you, that's it, just go to your room while you learn how to act. I'd be in there for hours going, to be or not to be? That is the question. She'd hear me and she'd say, oh, geez, you just wait till your father gets home. I'd say, why, what does he know about acting? I was always answering back. My mother said to me, you've been asking for it? I'd say, when? I'd say, you've been asking for it all day. I'd say, well, I don't want it anymore. Then she'd get amnesia. She'd say, who the hell do you think you're talking to? I realized when I was about 6 or 7 that Porky Pig is not the right answer to that question. I mean, before they hit you, they always warn you too, don't they? They always say, now, this is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you. I say, well, go easy on yourself then. And where the hell is Kingdom Come? Now, did Americans get sent there, did you? I thought it was only Irish kids got sent there. Kingdom Come, I thought I was going on a holiday. 3 days I spent looking in my geography book for that place. Eventually I had to ask one of the nuns. I said, excuse me, sister, where's Kingdom Come? She said, one more word out of you and I'll send you there.
Geraldine Doyle, she's based in Australia. She's from Ireland, but she's in Australia.
Oh, okay. She's got a kind of a bright and cheery voice, doesn't she?
Oh, she certainly does. And her brother was a very famous Irish singer, and he came over to the United States from Ireland. He just passed away a year or two ago, but and she went into comedy in Australia.
Yeah. On all the records that you and recordings that you have digitally and so on and so forth, have you ever done anything with the Irish tenors?
Oh, absolutely. I used to do all the video for their websites when they first started video.
Okay.
Because I had the knowledge and I could do it, and they would send me audio and video stuff, and I'd process it and put it up on their website for them.
Oh, they're absolutely great. And now that there's another group out now called the Young Irish Tenors.
Yeah, and the Celtic Tenors. They're all trying to cash in on.
Yeah. Have you ever gone to see Celtic Thunder? Have you ever seen them?
No, I've never seen them in person.
Yeah, you've seen them on GBH.
I've seen them on TV. I've had one of them on the show. But
my wife absolutely loves the Irish tenors. You know, and two of the people, the young. Remember when they started off, they had the young guy, kid that, and he would sing some of the old rock and roll songs and so on and so forth. And she also loved George, who was one of the originals. I can't know his last name, but he died.
Yeah.
He died kind of suddenly. He wasn't that old. He was like 53 or 54 years old. But they have substituted and brought other people in and so on and so forth. And it's funny. They were supposed to have a concert down at the big Civic Center in Sarasota, Florida, right after we would get down there, like in January of last year. And it was going to be a total, complete sellout, as all of their concerts are.
Right.
And we were going to try to get tickets to go to it, but it was canceled because of COVID-19.
Yeah.
And the rumor is they're going to come back. They're going to do that concert this year. You know, and they're just they're amazing. They're great. What a great group they are.
Yeah.
I mean, they're unbelievable. You know, and I'm sure they have made a lot of money just doing the concerts through PBS and everything else, you know. And whenever they're at the Wang Center, there's a complete sellout. They do 1 or 2 or 3 nights in a row, and you know, and then whatever they do for the concerts, that's always replayed on PBS as a fundraiser.
That's right.
For PBS, you know, and so on. So listen, we're going to take a break. We're going to play a couple of spots. And then we will be back with more of our interview and our talk with Jim Larkin, the host of The Sounds of Emerald Isle, right after this. The TMLP takes pride in their accomplishments because their efforts have demonstrated clearly how public power companies work in the community. The TMLP has an exemplary partnership with the Taunton school system. Employees judge science fairs, and they've assisted with upgrading and networking school computer systems. TMLP has supported networking needs of Morton Hospital, the Rainham Police Department, and the town of Lakeville. That's right, the TMLP, they take pride in their accomplishments, where purpose, not profit, remains the mantra of your hometown power company, the TMLP.
The COVID-19 vaccines can be our chance to get back to our plans, who we are, what we miss, to get back to each other, to life. But it's okay to have questions, like, how were the vaccines tested? In rigorous clinical trials among adults of diverse backgrounds. Can the vaccines give you COVID-19? You cannot get COVID-19 from a vaccine. Why should I get vaccinated? Protecting yourself also helps protect the people around you. Find the latest information at getvaccineanswers.org.
Okay, we're back with you on Coffee with Tony, the third hour, and we have as a special guest today Jim Larkin, who's the host of the Sounds of the Emerald Isle, which he told us that this coming February, which will be on Super Bowl Sunday, it will be the 40th anniversary of his show on the air. So that's kind of cool stuff and everything else. And do you still do some singing on the side, Jim, or in any of the groups that you used to go with from one time to another?
Actually, I don't. I can't play anymore because of the wrist problems. I have bone on bone, loss of cartilage. Yeah. So I can't play the banjo or the guitar anymore, and so I kind of gave that up.
Because you were with a bunch of groups, weren't you?
Yeah, and I used to, even in the summertime, I used to perform with this Irish star, Eamon McGurr. And he used to own a place down the Cape, and I was with him Fridays and Saturday nights for 4 years down there. Had a great time. We recorded 3 albums there, and it was a
lot of people don't realize that a lot of people travel to go to see that kind. Well, I don't want to say that kind of music, but ethnic music, things that bring back memories from their childhoods, and so on and so forth. And it just makes for a let's say a relaxing, pleasant weekend or moment. You know, that kind of where they can get their mind off of other things that are going on. You know, I mean, every ethnic background has that same kind of thing, in one shape, form, or another. Used to be in Taunton, used to be the Polish picnic. Right. You know, the first weekend in August every year, and thousands and thousands of people would come to that. Or years ago, it would be, it still is, the Holy Ghost Feast out in East Taunton, or the Portuguese Ramboias, as they'd call, where you'd have meat on the stick all the time, and, those kind of things. And just really, really crazy how different ethnic groups would come with their groups and the things that they like to practice and everything else. So anyway, look, I'm sure some people are saying, Tony, stop talking. Let's get another comedian up and running. So why don't we do that? And then we'll come back and chit chat a little bit.
All right, this fella, there's an interesting story behind this guy. His name was Jimmy Joyce. Okay. And when I first started the Irish show, you asked me how I got some of my stuff. I had a good friend on WBZ. You probably heard of him, Larry Glick. Oh, yeah. He was a good friend of mine. I was his insurance agent. And when I started the Irish program, he brought me this album. He stopped in my office one day. He said, hey, you might like this. And it was this guy, Jimmy Joyce, who was a very famous teacher of music. He's taught the Karen Carpenter. He's on that. His group is on that song, Sing a Song. Yeah. The Jimmy Joyce Singers from Ed Sullivan's show, Jackie Gleason's show, the Smothers Brothers, that was all Jimmy Joyce. And I'm playing this album at home one day, and my father's listening to it. What's that guy's name? I said, Jimmy Joyce. He says, I know that guy. He said, we grew up together. We were best friends. I said, really? And my father told me he couldn't believe this comedy album I was playing, because he said when he used to hang around with my dad and my uncles, he was the last person in the group that would catch the punchline of a joke. Okay. I said, you're kidding me. And he had a great comedy album, so I'm going to play a little bit of that now. Okay, sounds good. Jimmy Joyce.
The other day I was coming in on a jet, and I was sitting right next to a priest. We were 30,000 feet in the air, and the 2 left motors stopped, and I turned to the priest and I said, do something. He said, I'm sorry, I'm in sales, not management. Then the plane came in over the airport, and the other 2 motors stopped, so the stewardess ran up and down the aisle checking safety belts. And she looked at me and she said, Mr. Joyce, we're in a little trouble, say a little prayer. I said, well, right now I can't think of any. She said, well, do something religious. So I took up a collection. You know, the church I attend, they never take collections. Once a year they get 3 automobiles, and they put them up in front of the church, and they sell chances. And last year they raffled off a Cadillac, a Buick, and a Chevrolet, And 3 days after the raffle, the pastor was walking down the street, and he bumped into one of my relatives coming out of a thirst parlor. And the uncle looked at the good father, and he said, "Excuse me, could you tell me who in the automobiles, who in the Cadillac?" And the priest said, "Why, the cardinal did. Wasn't he lucky?" And the uncle said, "Well, who won the Buick?" And the priest said, "Why, the Monsignor did. Wasn't he lucky?" And the uncle said, "Well, tell me who won the Chevy?" And the priest said, "Why, Father Murphy did. Wasn't he lucky?" And at that moment, the uncle started to go back to get another drink. And the priest grabbed him. He said, "By the way, how many tickets did you buy?" And the uncle said, "I didn't buy a damn one. Wasn't I lucky?" And this church is right across the street from the synagogue, and the rabbi and the priest are very good friends. In fact, a few weeks ago, they each bought a new Oldsmobile, and they had the cars out on Route 1, and they were testing them out for speed and power. They were going along about 60 miles an hour. All of a sudden, the rabbi pulled in front of the priest. And there they were going down the highway, 60, 65, the rabbi in front, the priest in back. And all of a sudden, an old lady started across the road. The rabbi slammed the brakes on, and the priest couldn't stop, and he went right into the back of the rabbi's car, and there was a terrific crash. Both cars were demolished. And the two of them staggered out of the wreckage, and the priest got very upset. And he walked up to the rabbi, and he said, "When you stop a car like that, why don't you give a signal? Put your hand out, put the brake on. You didn't do a thing. You stopped short with no signal. I went right in the back of you, ruined the two cars. Look at the mess we got here." And the rabbi said, "Don't get excited, Father. We got insurance. You're getting flustered. You're getting red in the face. You're going to have a heart attack. I got a bottle of brandy here. Better take a drink and calm down." So the priest took a drink. He said, "What about the license, the registration? Let's get the papers out. We can't block the road all day." And the rabbi said, "Don't worry about the license. The registration I got will unblock the road. Take another drink." And the priest took another belt out of the jug. He said, "Well, call the insurance company, get a tow truck." And the rabbi said, "Don't worry about the insurance company. They'll send a tow truck. Take another drink." And the priest said, "I just took two. When are you going to take one?" And the rabbi said, "Don't be silly. I'm waiting for the state police." And they came. 20 minutes later, the state police car pulled up, and a big Irish cop jumped out, and he looked at the damage, and he turned to the priest, and he said, "How fast was this guy with the bottle going when he backed into your car?"
That's Jimmy Joyce.
That's classic. That is absolutely classic.
Jimmy's originally from Boston, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, a lot of these people that you've had on, or we're talking about today, they've all got local connections and local stories. And that's what makes it even more interesting and more entertaining, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Because you get a sense of that you're tied into these people just a little tiny bit, you know.
Right.
And that's another thing that I miss a lot. We don't have as much as we used to. When I was growing up, there was all these little cafes and places where you could go and you could hear a guy get up. You talk about karaoke today. You know, people go and do karaoke. Well, we used to have that years ago. Only it was in the form of comedy or a guy who was just trying his talents out, and some of them were so damn good it was ridiculous. You know, that kind of thing. So, anyway. Have you got any guests coming up soon as far as your show is concerned, or anything planned coming down the pike in September and October?
Well, I have several guests that want to come in and sing live, but we're still, with COVID the way it is right now, it's just not the right time to do that. Yeah. And I'd love to do more of that, because it's something you don't see, and like I said, put them on YouTube. People can see them after the fact, and
yeah. You know, it's kind of funny, the story that you may have heard me talking to one of the callers that talked about, I don't know if you heard this or not, but the country of New Zealand this morning, which would have been, if we do this right, they're on the other side of the timeline, so it's already tomorrow morning.
Oh, yeah, right.
Okay. Right. But the Prime Minister decided to lock down the entire country, both islands. Nobody in, nobody out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because they had one COVID-19 case.
That is just unbelievable.
One.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So you think they take it seriously? And of course her answer is, the female says, if there's one, there could be more.
Yeah.
You know, so they're I mean, I think if we were to leave here, we would probably have to travel for 2.5 days to get there by air. By jet, just to get to New Zealand.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I know years ago, my wife and I, we went out to visit our son out in Guam, in the Orient. And God, I never thought I'd ever get off an airplane.
Right.
Just to get there. You know, it was Boston to Minnesota, Minnesota to L.A., L.A. to Honolulu, Honolulu to Wake Island, Wake Island to Guam.
Yeah.
You know, incredible. You know, so, anyway, so look, we're getting to the point. It's 11:45. Why don't we do like one more comedy thing, and then we'll kind of wrap things up, and I'll close the hour off, and so on and so forth. So you got somebody that we could use as the grand finale, somebody that really would put a cap on this whole thing? Well, they're all good. I know they're all good.
Yeah. I got a guy named Sean Corners.
Okay.
Sean used to be a Dublin police officer for years, and he decided to give it up and become a comedian because he'd go into some of these places and do some comedy, and next thing he's a superstar over there. So I'll play a little Sean Corners.
Okay, here we go.
I was standing out at the bar earlier, and I met this guy, and he seemed a bit lost. I thought he was with your party. You know, I said, would you like a drink? He said, no. I says, I don't drink. He says, I tried it once, I didn't like it. So would you like a cigarette? Oh, he says, I don't smoke. He says, I tried it once, I didn't like it. I said, do you fancy a game of cards? Oh, he says, I don't play cards. He says, I tried it once, I didn't like it. I said, would you like a game of snooker? Oh, he says, I don't play snooker. He says, I tried it once, I didn't like it. As a matter of fact, he says, I wouldn't be here at all. He says, only I'm waiting on my son. I said, your only son, I presume. But Ireland is a marvellous little country. I mean, in America you have the wakes, but in Ireland we outdo them all with the wakes, because the wakes go on for weeks. I was at a wake there recently. I said to the widow, I said, are you going to have him buried or cremated? She says, I'm not sure. I says, why don't you have him stuffed and keep the party going? And if you have no money and you want to drink, all you have to do is go down to the local undertaker, find out who's dead, where he worked and where he lived, and go up and pay your last respects, and you'll be invited in for a few drinks. And I went to this wake there recently with my two friends from Kerry, Mickey Delaney and MJ O'Sullivan. Now, they had so much drink taken, when they went in, they didn't kneel down at the coffin to pray, they knelt down at the piano and started to pray. And one fella says to the other, begob, he says, dead and all as he is, he'd a gorgeous set of teeth. And the other fellow says, yes, he says, but there's a bad one here and there. And another woman says, begob, he says, doesn't he make a lovely corpse? The other one says, yes, that fortnight in Florida done him the world of good. Says, he died with a smile on his face. Ah, yes, he says, he died in his sleep. Doesn't know he's dead yet. Says, when he wakes up, the shock will kill him. But I went up to pay my last respects, and there was the corpse lying on the bedroom floor, stretched out on the bedroom floor in his brand new suit. I said to the widow, I says, the man should be raised up. She says, we got nothing to put him on. I said, well, why don't you get the table from downstairs? She says, we can't, all the refreshments are on the table. Well, I said, I've got a good idea for you. I said, why don't you get a chair at one end, a chair in the middle, and a chair on the other end? She says, that's a great idea. And she opens the door and she shouts down the stairs, could we have 3 chairs for the cops? And they all went, hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Well, his grave had already been opened for the funeral the next day. And Delaney and O'Sullivan were on the way home from the wake and they were walking across the graveyard. Didn't Delaney fall into the open grave? And they couldn't get him out. As much as they tried, they couldn't get him out. And he's lying at the bottom, he's shouting, help, pull me up, pull me up. It was a very, very cold night, and O'Sullivan says, Delaney, he says, stay where you are. I'll go and get help. And he goes back to the wake, and they give him more drink. So he forgets about Delaney in the bottom of the grave. And he's getting colder and whiter by the hour, and about 6 o'clock in the morning, there's another fellow coming across the graveyard, and he hears this little voice, help, help, pull me up, I'm freezing. And he looks down and he says, it serves you right after kicking all the clay off yourself.
Okay, and so we kind of finished up with the comedy, but kind of interesting. We were just talking during that comedy show, we were just talking about experience about guest stars that you had and some of that you missed out. It was an interesting story about Carol O'Connor, the star of All in the Family in his later years, but also very, very Irish, and some other great shows that he was on too. The Heat of the Night was a great TV series that he starred in for years and everything else. But it was kind of interesting. Tell us the story about how he got to talk. You got to talk to him.
Yeah, well, he had done 2 albums back in the 60s or 70s, and I didn't have them. And I got his home address from somebody.
Now, these were musical
music. Yeah, music. So I sent him a note. And his secretary called me, and I told her I did the radio show and everything. And so she said, well, she's going to contact used record stores in California and try to locate them for me. And she found one of the 2 records. And Carol O'Connor, she said, loved Irish music. And I said, would you like me to send some radio shows? She said, yeah. So I sent him 8 radio shows. And about 3 weeks later, I'm home. He got a call one day. I said, hello. Hi, this is Carol O'Connor. And I thought, oh, my God, I almost died. And he loved the radio shows, told me he owned a restaurant in Malibu, and he was actually playing these radio shows in the restaurant.
Wow.
So I sent him 10 more, and he loved them. He called me, thanked me, and said he'd be on the show anytime. And as it turns out, I never took advantage of it, and I really should have. And that second album that I had looked for years and years, I saw it once on eBay for over $100.
Okay.
The day my mother was buried, some reason I went on eBay, and I just had an urge to check. And some guy had just listed it for $15. Oh, free postage. He didn't know what he was listing because this thing would go for over $100, and I grabbed it right away.
Wow! So you do have the 2 albums then?
I do.
Yeah. That was kind of crazy too, because I had an experience too with a Hollywood actor too. Someone you probably know is Harry Morgan.
Oh yeah.
From MASH, famous for MASH, but he was a character actor in many. He was also, one of people don't remember is he was one of the partners for Joe Friday in Dragnet.
Right, yeah.
He was the second one, not the first. The second one, the series came back a second time.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm doing my show at WPEP. It was before WVBF. And I got this thing in the mail. I don't know if it was email, but I think it was in the mail about the Retired Actors Association of America. Mm-hmm. And its president, Harry Morgan.
Wow.
And the vice president was, and I can't remember his real name, but his stage name, he was Jethro on Beverly Hillbillies.
Oh, well, yeah. Max Bauer?
Max, that's it. Okay. Oh. So, anyway, I contacted him, and I says, hey, tell me a little bit about this. Talk to his secretary. Mm-hmm. And he says, oh, he'd love to talk about it, because at the time there were a lot of, the way he put it, fringe actors and actresses that were having financial troubles. Mm-hmm. And they would start an association to try to raise some money so that they could live at least a decent life. They had no retirement pension. They didn't have Social Security. They had nothing. Yeah. So he came on the show, and he talked about it and everything else. And he was a character. Oh, yeah. An absolute character. Yeah. Yeah. And I later on I had Jethro on too. Yeah. About 3 or 4 months later, and so on. He actually took over the association, and he was at the time. I don't know what he's doing now, but he was running a winery in Northern California.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's when he kind of grew into kind of a thing. And it was kind of funny because the TV show at the time that was going on was there was a show about living in the Napa Valley up in California, with Fernando Lamas Jr. was the star of it. I'm trying to remember the show. My wife would kill me because she loved the show, and so on. It was kind of like Dallas, but set in kind of a weekly soap opera kind of thing, that kind of stuff. So Jimmy, look at it's been fun, and it's really, and I would encourage anybody, if you have never listen to the sounds of the Emerald Isle. Jimmy is here every Sunday, 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock, and some of the stuff that you heard were a little sprinkling of some music that doesn't require ASCAP sanctioning in between and everything else. And remember, it's 40th anniversary coming up this February. And I want to thank Jimmy for joining us. And boy, it's been fun.
It has been fun, and thanks for having me, Tony. It's great to see you, and good to hear you on the air.
Yeah, once a week anyway.
Absolutely.
At least until, God willing, until the end of the year anyway. So, all right. So we got a couple little spots we got to play, and then we will be back right after. I just got to get it up to the right one. There we go. Be right back after this.
Don't miss Morton in the Morning, a weekly get-together with your friends at Morton Hospital in Taunton, Wednesday mornings at 11:05 a.m. Morton in the Morning brings you full access to the latest hospital news and health information. Stay in the know about important health and wellness topics, new doctors and services, and upcoming events. That's Morton in the Morning, Wednesday mornings at 11:05 a.m. It's only here at AM 1530 WVBF and 99.7 FM.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed. We are a global force for good. Support causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world. We can do more together than we can alone. Join in. Experience the joy of serving. Be part of the movement. Give back. Let's unite the world for good. We are Lions. You can be too. Visit weserve.org.
Well, we're back on Coffee with Tony. We got about 4 or 5 minutes left to go to close out this Tuesday's show. And again, I want to thank all of my guests that have come on today, going back to Bob Newhall earlier this morning, who joined us for a while, and some of the other guests that we've had as well. Dominic Coit that was on earlier this morning to talk about the Bristol County Toy and Record Show that's going to be on September the 12th from 9 until 5 o'clock that day with all kinds of memorabilia and different stuff. Maybe that's something that Jimmy might want to come by and see, too. It's going to be over by the old Kohannet School, which is about a mile from here, the other side. But tons of memorabilia, records, tapes, so on and so on. Maybe some great deals. Maybe you'll find another hidden gem out there as well. So, and again, Tim Hollick, as we talked a little bit about clam bakes and clam boils, which is kind of an end of a summer tradition in southeastern Massachusetts, and he prefers a boil. I kind of like a bake a little bit better, but anyway, clams are always good, and for me, it's always the fixings that go with it. So listen, we're going to kind of play a little Victory at Sea Overture and a little music here as we find our way out. Coming up next is the Veterans Show with Ask Your Local Veterans Agent, and Michaela Brito will be with. Joey will be on the board, so we'll kind of phase our way out, and we'll see you on the other side. Have a great Tuesday, everybody.
Broadcasting live from the Taunton Federal Credit Union studios at 14 Church Green, we are AM 1530, WVBF, Middleborough, Taunton, and W259DD, Middleborough Center, 99.7 FM, your hometown radio station.